Right, hey guys, how are we doing? Back with another video from Totally Not Mark. He's back! Yay! That was a bit of a thing, wasn't it? It's good to see he's back on the anime-related videos and that he's pretty much got things sorted. I know it's not 100% sorted, but it's still cool to have him back on the Naruto reviews. This is going to be sick. I was really enjoying these. And I am going to do those last two One Piece reviews, and I've got a Berserk review to check out as well, because I've been continuing with Berserk. But firstly, let's check this out. Sasuke vs Itachi and Tale of Jiraiya the Gallant. This is such a good part of Naruto. I can't wait to see what you think.
What is good, everybody? It's been a hot second since
Yo.
Naruto after I took a break to cover Spider-Man and, well...
No!
Let's just say that I had a bad month.
Yeah.
I'm interested in moving forward and finally getting back to this Naruto review with one of the most
Hell yeah.
awaited arcs I've yet covered. I didn't realize that when I took a break from Naruto, it was right before one of the most pivotal and beloved arcs of the series. Okay, well, I had some idea, but certainly not to this extent. Today, I will be reviewing, breaking down, and sharing my appreciation for 3 sections of this tale.
This is gonna be so sick.
Individually, starting with the Itachi pursuit mission, moving on to the Tale of Jiraiya the Gallant, and culminating with the fated battle between brothers.
Sasuke vs Itachi!
Because this is gonna be a fun one.
Oh! To prove me wrong, let me clean up the pain. Tune. The truth, the lies across this new divide. Yeah.
The Itachi pursuit mission.
Yay. Yeah, is that true?
That was the first sentence of this arc. And with it commences a brilliantly twisting and turning set of stories, filled with incredible battles, definitely the best in the series.
Deidara versus Sasuke is so freaking sick, man.
Fated conflicts. Sasuke's pursuit of his brother, Itachi. There's a lot to cover in this video. I haven't covered Naruto since before the holidays, and I think this
It has been a while. I really hope this is like a weekly thing now.
Whether that has more to do with my heart growing fonder from absence, or whether it's the contents of these
Jiraiya
arcs telling of the story, I'll leave it up to you to judge. In an effort, however, to make sure this video doesn't last a million years, I'll be dividing this video
Oh yeah, that
into 3
Obito, yeah.
sections.
Not Obito.
First,
Bloody...
the Itachi pursuit
What's his
mission.
name?
The second, Tale of Jiraiya. And of course, finishing with the fated battle between...
Mate, it's so freaking good.
These will have their
Kabuto,
own
that's his name.
thematic strings, I hope I pick up, and each has their battles. Holy hell, do they
Have their battles, yes.
One thing I hope won't be lost here is that while I am dividing this video into 3 sections, I want to communicate that this story does a seamless job of perfectly and naturally connecting
Each one, yeah, it just does flow.
Together, implementing the words and teachings of previous arcs to bolster and in many cases greatly enhance the power of certain key moments. And the first sentence of this arc is no different. So long as you have mercy, you can't best Itachi.
Oh, Orochimaru, you should not have said those words to Sasuke of all people.
However, this arc takes a twist very early on that I did not see coming.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't see this coming first time round either, like...
This is an interesting fight to kick things off with, and honestly, it's not because it's competitive. In fact, it's not competitive.
It's very one-sided.
What it does show us is that there's an air of, I don't know, narcissism or perhaps ego attached to Sasuke. Sasuke has nothing left to gain from Orochimaru, and so...
Yeah, I've got what I want.
Which is, I guess, fair and still self-preservation. Outwardly, however, Sasuke in this carries with him a quiet confidence with everyone around. And you can hear this in how he speaks to Orochimaru and the people he recruits.
Yeah, he's very calm, yeah.
Four-man cell group. But one thing that led me to suspect that there was still so much more to Sasuke than he was letting on was his dedication to, at numerous points in this story, to spare various individuals' lives if he could help it. Which again, flies in the face of what Orochimaru told him in this arc's opening line.
Yeah, the mercy in that.
He needs to strip himself of mercy. But anyway, a large portion of this first section is dedicated to setting up these chess pieces in this metaphorical chess game. Whether that be taken from a combat strategy sense, with Sasuke recruiting the likes of Sugetsu, Kare...
It was cool having these guys in, so like, a nice little reminder of the Seven Swordsmen, and then where the actual, like, transformation from the curse marks comes from and that.
But for the most part, her contributions serve support and comedic purposes mostly, with her...
She is just support, like, her blood heals them, doesn't it?
For a character that teeters the line between gross and funny. Jugo, on the other hand, is sort of the Hulk to Sasuke's Black Widow. He's got this intense desire to kill that he's overcome by from time to time. However, Sasuke seems to be able to grant this man the freedom from his mind that he's yearned for what seems like a long, long time. And if introductions were anything to go by, I'd say that he's even more simple than Kara. Which brings us to my favorite of the members recruited, Sugetsu. Outside of me really enjoying his design, there's such a confident and almost chaotic nature to how this person conducts himself around both Sasuke and others. Furthermore, on this chessboard, Naruto and the rest of the Protag Shinobi ready themselves for this pursuit. They recognize that Sasuke is after Itachi, and so they pursue Itachi also in the hopes of finding Sasuke first. Oh, and in classic shonen fashion, the hero is told that their most powerful technique is too risky to use, which means he will definitely use this move, and it is going to be awesome when he eventually uses it. And so now, with Sasuke and Naruto's team formed, and their target
you have an attack that's so powerful, you shall not use it yet.
What better way than with one of the most surprisingly brilliant fights I've enjoyed in this
series. Oh, Deidara Sasuke.
Deidara versus Sasuke.
Hell yes.
This fight totally took me by surprise. Grabbed my attention and never let
you look at Deidara and you wouldn't think he's like that friggin' strong, but he does a really friggin' good job in this fight.
The scope of Sasuke's power can be observed, and where the unbridled creativity of Deidara can change the tide of a given conflict at a moment's notice. And this is a quick aside. This fight is split between two volumes, and the only reason I mention this is because volume 40 has the best cover art I've seen.
It's sick. Like, I love that I've got all the mangas here, man. They do look freaking beautiful. I need to get like a bookshelf or something, because I'm starting to look like one of those rooms in animation, like shows. Twists and turns than a curly frog. As often is the case with these substantial fights, we receive the backstory and some new information concerning Deidara. We learn a little bit more about his motivations, and oddly enough, it turns out that this fight has a bit more weight to it now, with these two combatants yearning to surpass the same person, Itachi. Yeah.
Furthermore, and I feel this is worth saying at this time, when I sit down to digest these volumes of manga, I do so while taking notes for my script. Notes where I expand upon an impression I'm getting, or perhaps jot down a few useful talking points or ideas for the video. I try to be as eloquent as I can in order to effectively convey the emotion or technique at play in the story for myself later. But when Deidara used his best move on Sasuke,
Mate.
This is what my notes were. Deidara's fucking disintegrated Sasuke. My script actually says and also this sentence. Back to the fight.
Brilliant.
In order to survive that attack, Sasuke used the Sharingan to see the attack coming and dodge. He blindsides Deidara, but wait! Deidara is playing 40
Oh
chess
no! It's all over the place.
Sasuke does reverse the situation again for the second time, but they changed this one up and tied it back to the beginning of the fight, while also adding the types chart into the mix, which was explored and introduced in the previous section of the story. His Chidori was favorable against Deidara's style of jutsu,
yeah, man.
and he knew it from the start, but Deidara still had
oh mate, and Sasuke has one last thing he can do as well. I find it hilarious that he had to pull out the snake to survive. Like,
twists and turns, interesting reveals, and callbacks to previously established techniques that made perfect sense for the time.
yeah, nothing came out of nowhere.
Ends creates the best outcome for both Deidara and Sasuke. Deidara puts some respect on his name in the eyes of everyone, including us, the audience, not just by how creative he was in his application of this incredible power, but also because of what Sasuke did in response to this attack to protect himself, summoning Orochimaru's giant snake to sacrifice and ultimately protect himself against the oncoming nuke. In other words, Sasuke appeared level-headed and incredibly resourceful, all the while Deidara, despite losing, unleashed one of, if not the most powerful attack we've yet seen in this
Yeah, it's just as powerful as a Biju Blast, isn't it? It's like, it's ridiculous. Oh, this is the first time we see these, isn't it? Like, actual...
Okay, so cards at the table. I knew about this character before I started reading.
Right.
Or really, I should say, I knew what he looked like. But apparently, I knew less than I anticipated because I honestly thought that this was just some weird power-up for Naruto. Similar to Sasuke, but apparently he's just some...
There were so many theories when this, like, character was introduced.
Incredibly dumb right now.
Like, a lot of people thought that, like, it was Naruto from the future or something.
Between Jiraiya and Tsunade right here. And while while he never explicitly says anything to Tsunade about him going on a mission with a low success rate,
She knows.
he knows that this is an important thing for him to do, not just as a
She
high-ranking
knows.
shinobi, but also as a mentor to the next generation. Upon finishing this arc, this was the scene that stood out to me as particularly attention-grabbing. He wanted a chance to have a drink with her and told her how he respected her. There was a specific focus on his most wonderful qualities with a sense of, melancholy hanging in the air, despite Tsunade saying that he is to return. Regardless, once I reached the end of this arc with Sasuke standing face to face with Itachi, I felt a very uneasy feeling for the future of Jiraiya as he arrived at the location of pain.
Oh, this fight.
Tale of Jiraiya the Gallant.
Oh,
As the
mate.
title of this arc might give away, this is indeed the tale of Jiraiya the Gallant. You don't say! As such, despite having some developments for the likes of Sasuke and Naruto respectively, while I will mention those characters briefly, I do want to focus my attention on this incredible story surrounding Jiraiya's attempt to gain intel on the Akatsuki and the nature of an individual called
Pain.
Following some
Oh my
light
god.
interrogation, we catch up with the likes of Jiraiya as he arrives on the shores of this Rain Village. We learn some backstory concerning Pain. He is apparently the reason why the Rain Village is so successfully closed off from everywhere. Pain defeated Hanzo, the man who named Jiraiya, as well as Tsunade and Orochimaru.
Orochimaru, yeah, he named him, didn't he? The Sanin. Yeah.
He coined that term. And in addition to killing him, Pain also killed his family and everyone who knew him. And all of this is coming from the mouths of the people. And to be honest, he sounds like more of a legend than an actual person, a god, a force of nature. And more on that in just a sec. The fight that ensues in this arc is different. And I mean that
Very different.
While there's action of a unique variety, particularly with regards to Jiraiya,
There's a lot of mystery going on about like how they work in
there's
that.
something more grand and prophetic about this occasion. It's less about the action and more about the mystery as well
Yeah.
as the internal story of Jiraiya, as he fights against increasingly insurmountable odds, with perhaps the first clue concerning his thoughts on the future of the island coming by way of this gesture, lending the key that unlocks Naruto's full nine-tailed fox spirit to a messenger to deliver to Naruto himself. Nagato, Kona, and Yahiko were all children Jiraiya.
Yeah, this flashback, man. And it's like, whoa, what?
Jiraiya decided to mentor them. However, now that they seem to be associates of pain, and while it's a rather on-the-nose metaphor, the three of them have effectively embraced and focused on their pain rather than the good that they can do for the world. And want to instead enact their revenge, to make the world feel the same pain that they were forced to feel. And pain is a word that is thrown around a ton in this arc.
Yeah.
And it's quite obvious that it's trying to draw a connection between the pain character and the very concept of pain with what it represents to these children. Nagato wants to give every nation the power to destroy each other so that they can all know pain. But what I love about this is what Jiraiya offers as advice and mentorship to these young, talented, and brave children. Instead of focusing on how the pain is manifesting, he points out to them that those that have gone through pain can understand it better than anyone.
Yeah.
They have the capacity to feel compassion on a greater level than anyone without that perspective or experience. And I just thought that that was such a wonderful way of thinking about this particular scenario. The battle with Nagato, or who Jiraiya perceives as Nagato, seems interesting, but more so we see Nagato split up into three individuals that represent pain. The fight is interesting, told from Jiraiya's point of view, which aids in the climax. And interspliced in this fight are a series of flashbacks. And one such flashback is called back to once the three are taken down and a surprise fourth person shows up.
Mate, it's like, what's going on?
What was once three has now turned into six opponents. One being the pain character himself, who is recognized. Apparently Ahiko was said to have died, but I guess that's a metaphorical death considering he's here too? Question mark? And upon closer inspection, Nagato doesn't look to be among them after all, though his eyes seem to be done
On all of them. Yeah, it's like, what's going on? Yeah.
Back with the likes of Sasuke and co, once they arrive at the location to meet Itachi, Kisame is waiting for them. Apparently only Sasuke is allowed to pass and speak to his brother, but
Which is fine.
not much else happens here for me to give my full opinion on
Because
just yet,
that guy
considering
wants to
this
fight
arc
him,
is
doesn't he?
primarily
So
centered
okay.
around Jiraiya and his
He's only got one arm.
are all faces from his past, perhaps signifying his failure standing right before him. And now, with it being 6-on-1, Jiraiya's reflection at the end of this section is perhaps the most poetic and earlier in this tale with Tsunade, and I knew given the nature of his musings it would bear some relevance to this instance. In that section, he says, "Rejection makes me stronger. The pursuit of happiness isn't for us." In that scene, he speaks with a very tongue-in-cheek flair. However, it really speaks to the tragedy he sees as his life story. A shinobi's life is not measured by how they lived, but by what they managed to accomplish before their death. And in reflecting on that very principle, he clearly holds dearly during this short flashback. Jiraiya is haunted by the failings that he thinks define his life, until Minato cuts him off and instead praises his self-insert character's work.
Yeah,
It's a
from the book, yeah.
Sort of like an autobiography of his life with a renamed character. It makes one wonder more about his decision not to accept the position of Hokage. Since he truly feels so ashamed of what he's done throughout his life, he probably thought he would fail in that effort too, in becoming Hokage. But the message Minato takes from this isn't that of his failings, but his tenacity. So much so, it's inspired him to name his son after the lead character
in the
of
book.
this book. This single turn of the page revealing the origin of Naruto's namesake had me fighting back tears. And for me, this has been the most powerful and emotional moment so far.
No, don't make me cry.
Executed to near perfection, discovering in his final moments that his real selection all this time was whether or not he would choose to fight one last time. To select Naruto to carry on long after he's gone, Jiraiya was once told as a child by the great elder that he would have a disciple that would change the world.
And he thought it was Nagato, didn't he? But it's...
Potentially for bad. It depends on a choice. And in this instance, Jiraiya once again rallies himself after falling in order to try once again. And in doing so, imparts a crucial message for Naruto as to the identity of who Pain
It actually is, yeah.
and as if like poetry, as Naruto falls to the ground in battle, and Jiraiya fades into the ocean declaring that his next story should be called Uzumaki Naruto, Naruto rises from the surface below, ready to carry on his master's will. This story was stunningly depicted. Between brothers.
Let's go! Oh!
Centers around the brewing, or should I say, impending conflict between Sasuke and the brother he's wished was dead since that fateful day. In many ways, this arc acts as a culmination of Sasuke's journey, or at the very least, a pivotal or immeasurably important turning point.
This is so
in the
freaking
young
sick.
Naruto's life. I found it interesting how the fight between Itachi and Sasuke begins with close quarters combat
Yeah.
using a variety of weapons and blades. With all the sign weaving in the fights leading up to now,
Yeah,
not only
it is
a
different.
sense of identity, but also a much more grounded, honest, and personal quality, lending all the more weight and frankly
Mate.
to my surprise when... Yeah, it's not him. Just like all
Itachi's such a beast. It's always been my fave, man.
This close quarters, intimate, and earnest affair seems to be nothing more than an illusion of an honest contest for Itachi.
Again. It's like, whoa, okay, what's going on?
You gotta stop doing that.
Yeah.
I love this small exchange as it works wonderfully from an audience's perspective. We begin this chapter expecting to deal with the contest between these two, but instead it acts as the stage for a series of illusions.
Yeah.
Which managed to work effectively on me. The conversation that takes place past this point felt, at least for me, a little more for exposition than it did for character growth or revelation necessarily. Having come all this way after seeing so many spectacular battles, it doesn't seem like the fight is in any rush to meet its resolution. And I like that.
Yeah.
It's interesting for
Nicely
Shinogen to
paced.
see Sasuke finally confront his older brother, but in retrospect, the entire affair felt very detached from reality, both literally and figuratively. Some information was divulged concerning the character of Uchiha Madara, who too possesses
Madara?
a Kyo, and in fact was the first one to achieve such. But I think the most interesting part of this conversation, and indeed conflict, comes by way of a certain revelation. The Mangekyo is a formidable weapon of ocular ability that affords the wielder a number of strengths.
Yeah, man,
otherwise not according to his standard Sharingan.
But
However, when Madara first possessed it, he noticed that there was a major drawback to
go
it.
blind if
The
you use it
more
too
he
much.
used it, the more he lost his ability to see, which would be, for a ninja, less than optimal. In despair, Madara learned something vital. It was that if he took his brother's eyes, not only would he see the light return to his vision, but he would retain
Yeah.
Mangekyo
Use it
forever.
forever, yeah.
This, for me, at the time, explained the sudden shift alive as a host for his future eyes. And honestly, this is an interesting angle to take this plotline down. It clears up
It's a nice little swerve for us, the audience. It's like, whoa, but then when you get the actual reveal, it's like,
whole other brand of murderous, power-driven insanity, which, as Sasuke finds out, is terrifying on a whole other level. But this time, it seems Sasuke is significantly more skilled with the Sharingan than Itachi is with the Mangekyo eyes. And so, I guess it's round 2.
Let's
the fight
go.
itself turned out to be a lot more competitive than I was anticipating. Now, naturally, I wasn't aware of the direction this fight would take and where things would go from here, but once Itachi revealed his hand, I figured some sort of resolution would be met at this point. And the visuals are stunning. In the manga, I particularly like the Amaterasu technique.
The Amaterasu is sick, man.
That engulf Sasuke as he overpowers Itachi's fire efforts, forcing Itachi to dodge as the fire blast surges into the sky above. And once again, like most of the fights in this series, there's always an underlying strategy at play.
Yeah.
The vision of Itachi waning and the chakra of Sasuke at its limit.
If Itachi wasn't ill.
It turns out all of the fire Sasuke sent flying into the air wasn't for nothing, but in fact carefully calculated, creating for him an electrical cloud producing more energy than anything he could conjure up.
Oh yeah, what was this technique called?
And what a strike!
Because he only used it this time, doesn't he? He only used it in this fight.
1/1000th of a second with enough punch to shake a continent. And it's at this point I think back to the kid I first met towards the beginning of the story and how far this festering hatred and desire for revenge has brought him, gifting him control over the very heavens themselves.
Mate,
It's a stunning
it's
display of
so
power
freaking
greater than
cool.
anything I've seen once again. However, that's not how this fight ends.
Because Itachi still got stuff going on. Oh no.
Revealing to all of us that he has had this trump card still up his sleeve, cornered
The
and
Susanoo.
he's out of options. Sasuke is confronted by the very same sentence that this arc and videos started with, uttered by Orochimaru. So long as you have mercy, can't best Itachi. It can be seen throughout Sasuke's action in the material covered since those words were uttered that he has
The Tosca blade and the Yadamir as well, isn't it, that he's got?
along the path to his brother, even to those trying to kill him, and stunningly, even Itachi to some extent. And in being faced with these worsening circumstances, Itachi unleashes some monstrous attack. Sasuke's chakra fades weaker and weaker.
And
until
Orochimaru takes over.
Orochimaru erupts forth from the depths of his person, forced to relinquish the very humanity that made him who he was. Despite him not necessarily being in control of this move, he did make the choice to imbue himself with Orochimaru's spirit in the first place, all with hatred driving him as a motivator. I don't think it's a coincidence that sandwiched between this pursuit of Itachi and this fated battle between brothers is a tale effectively describing the life and virtue of a mentor that consistently tried to do the right thing in the face of constant fear, who found solace and significance not in the goals he achieved, but the desire he consistently and earnestly expressed in doing his best, who told children who had endured so much pain in their lives to use it not as a vehicle for more suffering, but to use it as a motivator to emphasize and to prevent that suffering for others. Throughout these arcs, Sasuke, having known what it's like to lose those important to him,
Everything.
has carried with him a dedication to not take a life if he can help it, because he, more than perhaps anyone else he knows, understands what sort of impact and sense
What
of
it does
sorrow
to
that
someone,
can
yeah.
bring into their family, and he didn't want that for others. However, now, in this fight with Itachi, he's willing to throw all of that out the window. He's willing to let go of that side of himself if it means he gets what he wants. In other words, he too was embracing pain. And when Itachi takes out Orochimaru with relative ease,
Yeah, he does, man. It's like, whoa, okay.
signs of serious injury and fatigue, coughing up blood, crying blood. The battle rages on until both are barely standing. Sasuke throwing everything he has at him until he too has nothing left.
Yeah, man.
And staggering towards him in a bloody stupor is Itachi, extending
It's like,
to take what he considers his own, Sasuke's eyes. Later on in this arc, we get formally introduced to a character called Uchiha Madara. He takes Sasuke under his wing, and in doing so fills him.
oh yeah, he tells him he's mad, doesn't he? It's like,
concerns of
yeah.
his deceased brother. When Itachi was very young, through his exposure to pain and suffering in war, learned to be a gentle and peace-loving person, which again speaks to the Jiraiya
The reveal.
empathy for that pain was experienced. And in this description, Itachi is kind of the opposite of Madara in this situation. Where Madara killed his brother for the benefit of his own clan, Itachi sacrificed his own clan for the betterment of the wider community.
Yeah.
With it being the case in the end, he cared more for his brother than the broader community of people even. In his dying moments, Itachi wasn't trying to get his eyes.
Nope.
He was trying to give him his ocular powers to protect him. And shortly following this revelation for Sasuke, Naruto starts to show up in the story once again. Having come to learn that his fraternal brother Sasuke had in fact achieved what he set out to do, in his last interaction with Itachi before he teleported to Sasuke's battle, Itachi presents Naruto a dilemma to contend with. Knowing what we do about
Gives him the
Itachi's
crow as well,
actions,
doesn't he? Which, like...
the clear connection being drawn between
Oof.
what choices he was left with and ultimately made when he was young.
Itachi's
However,
such a clever
Naruto
man.
effectively responds by saying that when faced with a tough decision rife with compromise, he'd make both outcomes positive. He wouldn't kill Sasuke to save his village or vice versa. He'd save his village and
Then you are to
save
him,
Sasuke.
damn.
There is no compromise with Naruto. For him, a life where he has to compromise isn't a life he thinks is worth living. So he'd rather die trying to get that perfect outcome rather than live with a compromise hanging over him for the rest of his life. And I think in a sort of childish, idealistic sort of way, there's a purity and sweetness to that sentiment that's just quite refreshing. And I think Itachi thought so too. I think this is a really important quote towards the end of the story.
Yeah.
And someday, when you have the same eyes as I, you will find me again. I think this line is my favorite from all of the reflection panels we received from Sasuke because, to be honest, in the moment I never took notice of that phrasing of the sentence. But knowing what I know now, it's clear to me that he meant if Sasuke can learn to understand his decisions and empathize to see the world as he saw it, that he will be able to see him as his brother more.
Yeah.
A lesson that, while incredibly simple, offers Sasuke the means with which to look at the world the very same way. The fight itself was amazing. The story surrounding it was incredible, and I really enjoyed reading it. And there's some stuff regarding Naruto's training and Cypher sent by Jiraiya that I just didn't have the time to get into this week, but I will definitely touch on it in the beginning of the next part.
Cool.
With that said, I really do hope that you enjoyed this video. It was really difficult to make as I had to make a separate second video this week addressing the whole toy situation. But I'm still really happy to be getting back to Naruto, and I honestly can't wait to see where the story takes us next. If you enjoyed
I'm glad these are back. I'm so glad these are back, man.
Maybe you want to see my suffering or joy as I review all of the Batman movies from the last 60 years, be sure to subscribe. It costs nothing, means the world to me and my team, and you can always unsubscribe later if you want. But that'll do for this week. I've been Totally Not Mark, and thank you all so much for watching.
No problem, man. Keep these Naruto reviews coming. Love it. I always get upset whenever I see the Jiraiya thing. So sad. But, yeah, Sasuke Itachi fight, absolute boss. The truth behind what Itachi did and everything. And I love as well, my favourite bit is the, so when we first see a flashback of Itachi standing on that pole, it's just all shadowy with him looking over at Sasuke, isn't it? But then when Sasuke actually remembers it properly, he actually sees a tear. It's the same, but a tear down his face, doesn't he? So it's like, oh wow, whoa. So, yeah, cool. Thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of a video, I upload links in the description to the Patreon page. $1 a month, so that helps support the channel. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you guys so much for that. And thank you all for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click the like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. And I'll see you guys, all you guys, next time.